I love all the parallels in Nana. Like the fact that Takumi's girlfriend from like high school parallels Nana K. And not only the way that she kind of favors her and how she looks, but also just how the interaction went when he found out she was pregnant. Because in both situations, the girls are like, I'm not going to have it. Like they made the decision without him. Even though deep down he was kind of like, oh, it would kind of be inconvenient. Even with Nana K, he had said, oh, it would kind of be inconvenient if you got pregnant right now. They made the decision without him, and that still made him feel some type of way. And rightfully so. I mean, it will be his child too, even though her body, her choice. But it's just the fact that he's just like, damn, she already made the decision. Like shit. Like that's a human emotion to feel. And this girl also parallels Nana K and just how the way she acts. Like, of course, this moment is high emotion moment where it's just like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? I don't have enough money. I don't want to have this baby. But just in the way how she thinks, right? Because she's putting all the blame on Takumi, right? When she's like, but you don't use protection. It's your fault. And he's like, yeah, but you knew that and you still did it anyway. So we're both at fault. Again, using logic over emotion. Even earlier, it's just sometimes he'd be saying the stuff and not thinking about people's feelings because she's like, it's going to be $1,000. And she's like, it's really expensive. And he's like, is that expensive? Because it's a whole child's life. I mean, I would expect it to be probably more. And she like, okay, well, it's your fault. You didn't use protection. He like, girl, it's both our fault. It takes two to tango. Because that is true. That is true. Let's be real. Because sometimes even with Nana K, people be like, well, he didn't use protection. But she knew that, but she was still sleeping with him. And right, like, again, not rightfully so, but like in a way of like at that point when he's famous, I don't, not that I don't blame her, but it's just more of like, I don't expect anything less from someone, especially from someone like Nana K, if that makes sense. But she also parallels in the fact of how she acts. And it reminds me of Nana K, right? Because in this moment, this young girl doesn't want to take any type of accountability for the fact that she played a part in getting pregnant as well. We don't have any power struggles. This wasn't, this was his girlfriend. This wasn't no grape or nothing like that. She held equal responsibility in getting pregnant at this young age, but she's trying to put it all on him. And it just reminds me how she's like, you're the worst. I hate you. Go die. And because he's like, it took two to tango. So I could pay half. You could pay half because it's a lot of money. I don't have it. And again, he's like, still, I don't get it. This is why is she running away when this is not the time for that. And then fast forward to when he gets a new girlfriend and somebody else he's sleeping with. And he, she mad dogging her, right? And he's like, you were the one who took the money and ran away. Like, you kind of like ended the relationship, whatever the case is. I mean, you ran away. It is what it is, but you took the money. So why are you getting mad that I'm with a new girl? Of course, though, if you got pregnant by somebody and they just end up with somebody else, she probably thinking in her head, well, why he with somebody else so quick? Like, what's going on? But he's like, in his head, he's like, well, you ran away and took the money, so. But this brings us to the next scene of where he's like, you didn't even care about my emptiness. Women are so selfish. If I could, I wouldn't deal with them. But of course, hunger and sexual desire come around indefinitely, even if I don't want them to be. And then he says, here, for now, I just need to satisfy myself. So this is where, again, Takumi, because he's a young boy right here too. He's shaping, right, how he views women, how he's going to navigate with women. And these backstories give us some more insight and enriches these characters a little bit more. So we see the parallel between Nana K and his ex-girlfriend from high school. But we also see how, although on the outside he was just like, I mean, hey, look, it takes two to tango. Like, why are you upset right now? We need to be trying to figure out how to get this money by tomorrow. On the inside, he's like, wow, she didn't care about my emptiness or how I felt either. He may not show it, but he does feel these things. And although he feels these things, he's like, I don't have time to deal with emptiness. So he'd rather put his focus on something else, which is at the time being in the studio, getting the band together, trying to, do everything with Rayra. So he's keeping himself busy so he doesn't have to think about his family life. Because we get to see, again, he was so tired from going to the studio and doing his part-time job, which was graveyard shift. He would just sleep at school. And of course, he was just going to school just so he can graduate correctly. And he wanted to give his sister a life of luxury. But he was saying, since she has enough earnings especially from her husband, she won't even take his allowance, the money that he was making. Again, that family structure was the reason why he got into that role of being a provider and like a manager. And then the person that he's doing it for is no longer needs the allowance. And on top of that, the dad that Takumi has beef with because he's an alcoholic and wasn't present, now she's taking care of him, the sister, instead of just, abandoning him. Like how he probably feels the dad abandoned them. And he's like, well, other people say she's a good sister, but I don't really fit into the picture anymore. And quite frankly, it hurts. So he's dealing with all of this. He's feeling empty. He's feeling useless. He's feeling that he doesn't fit into the family anymore. What is his role? And this is when he's trying to figure out, what is something that I can do that no one else can do? Like, does something like that exist? Something that only I can do and I can do it the best? And he's like, probably not. But then that's when his sister mentions, Rayra's going to be a star. And that's when he's like, it clicked. He's like, something only I can do. I can write songs. She can sing, right? And I understand the goodness of her songs and her voice better than anyone. And remember, he says this because he genuinely feels that Rayra's voice was the reason why his mom was able to live long enough until he reached his third year of high school. Because Rayra would go to the hospital and sing to his mother. So he's like, Rayra's singing voice, it gives people hope. It has that type of power. So he feels like he knows this better than anybody. So again, now he is giving his life purpose by giving himself this role in Rayra's life. And he doesn't necessarily give her a choice. And because she likes him so much, she's like, oh my gosh, yes, Takumi. And he's like, okay, yeah, that's all. But this is more about a him thing, right? Giving himself purpose. I'll write these songs for you to sing. I won't be beaten by anyone. So don't let anybody write for you. And of course, Rayra, because she likes him, she's taking that as like, oh, he must like me. You get me? Like, there must be some feelings there. That's why later on, she's always like, what am I to you? And it's not that he doesn't care about her at all, but it's just, it was never that. It was always him looking for purpose for himself. And he started to use her as a vehicle for that purpose for him. So now fast forwarding in his adult life with Nana K, and when he says the person you need to worry about getting angry is me, it reminds me of when he was just like, oh, that woman, that girls are so selfish. She didn't even think about how empty I was feeling. She didn't think about how I felt. And it also goes back to his childhood of how, again, his father wasn't thinking about how he felt, wasn't thinking about how his sister felt, right? And then he had to take over. And it reinforces this idea that everything has to be about him. Just like how after dealing with that ex-girlfriend that aborted the baby, he was like, you know what, right now I'm just going to focus on my happiness and my satisfaction and my pleasure. So therefore, if he's going to be dealing with a woman, he wants them to be mainly focusing on his pleasure. This is not new. A lot of men do this, but we're just breaking this down. Especially since him and Nana K's arrangement was very, superficial, and it was mainly sexual. And that was the foundation of it, pleasing each other in that way. Again, going there to get fulfilled in that way. But that doesn't mean they both don't actually have feelings or egos. So yeah, Nana K has feelings, right? And he wasn't really caring about feelings when he's only thinking logically. And he has his ego, which also gets bruised. And I can argue that they both don't think about each other's feelings enough. Just is what it is. And yes, I say both. I can pull out examples. But at the same time, it doesn't surprise me because this foundation wasn't built off of romance or a romantic relationship. It was a fling that ended up going more. She just ended up becoming one of his girls that he would see when he would go to city, state to state. And that was their arrangement. So it makes perfect sense why they're both not really thinking about each other's feelings. And this is why they both get hurt, because they effed around and found out. But anyway, going back to the parallel of Nana K with that first girlfriend. Again, just how they act, right? Because remember when he was like, don't tell me you're pregnant. She was like, what? Huh? Of course not. And then she gets mad because he says that, right? And then he's just thinking logically. But then she gets mad. She's just like, bye. Okay, that's not ending anything. That's not ending the sexual arrangement. Even if you wanted to think that they were in they weren't in an official relationship, but it was a sexual arrangement. So if you're going to plan on getting with somebody, you need to end things. You can't just hang up the phone and say bye, right? And I think the manga's a little bit different because I know in another version I was reading online, it was, what did she say? Never call me again or bye or something like that. That's not saying, hey, I'm about to get in a relationship, so don't be popping up at my house. I don't want no more D from you. It is what it is. She did not do that. Either way, whether it was just a bye or whether it was just, hanging up, she did not end things. And that's why he's like, I guess she got mad. And it reminds me of when that first girl was just like, go die, Takumi. But again, she still wants the money. But she's just like, bye, go die. And it's just like, what? He's like, what? This is not the time for this. We need to figure out how to get this money by tomorrow. And it's funny because I would expect a child to do that. But then you got Nana K. She is still young. So she is still childlike. But not everybody would think like that in that moment, right? Because she really thought she did something. She was like, oh, I told him. It's done. It's over. It's like, girl, you didn't tell him shit. She's like, it's over? No. That's why people get mad when he pop up at her house. But it's like, that was their arrangement. She never said that it was over. She never said that she was going to be dating anybody else. So, of course, he's going to pop at her shit when he's done with his tour or done with work, as he always does. Like, this is the regular scheduled programming. But anyway, it's just a lot of parallels.